Oh, I think we're live on Facebook. Can you see it on your end? Good morning, Facebook world.
All right, here we go.
My turn.
Our intro music. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 425 Show, your place to be for all things real estate and lifestyle related here on the East Side. I'm your host, Nicole Mangina with Windermere Real Estate. A quick update for real estate this week, all about interest rates. It's amazing. We've got some stats that we will put on the website after the show. But, whenever somebody's buying a house, we are always talking about what's the purchase price. That's the part we're focused on. But really what it comes down to is what that payment is. And it's fascinating to see how that changes year over year. Windermere just came out with their latest stats. And while the purchase prices have gone up, the market's appreciated, properties are worth more than they were last year because the interest rates have gone down, the payment's actually lower. So the house you buy today, even though you're paying more than you would have 12 months ago, your monthly payment is less. Just fascinating. So always a good thing to be thinking about and talking about with your agent and your lender, because there's a whole lot more that goes into making the decision as to whether or not the house is right for you than strictly the purchase price. So if you have real estate questions, I encourage you to reach out. I'm always happy to help. You can find me via email, nicole@nicolemangina.com. Ta-da! And I'm excited to introduce our guest today. This is all about, the whole premise of the show is that it's about more than bedrooms and baths when you're buying and selling real estate. It is about the people, the businesses, the events that form our community and the backdrop of our lives and the stories that we ultimately end up living. And we've got Stacy Lill with DeLille Wines joining us today. Welcome, Stacy. How are you?
Hi, Nicole. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Wine, it's all about the story, right?
It is. It's all about the story and just the evolution of the story.
Yeah,
sure.
on so many levels. You guys as the winemakers, the wines themselves, the vineyards, and then I'm sure we all have a wine-related story or two in our arsenal of, things that have happened over a bottle of wine at some point in our lives.
Wine is really a fun thing because it's such a great common denominator in bringing people together and really creating memories. And one of the things when we used to host dinner parties with people, we'll get back to that one day, but this is what I'm going to say still would be a fun thing to do when you're on a Zoom call or just talking with friends. But I oftentimes like to go around the room and ask what is someone's favorite bottle of wine. Mm-hmm. And it ends up, it's not really about the wine, but it's about the memory that is created around the wine and the experience of where the people are together. That they had a great bottle of, 2005 XYZ with these certain friends at an outdoor barbecue or in a certain restaurant, or it's just that it creates this memory that brings us all back to a happy place in our lives.
For sure. Absolutely. Well, and DeLille, you guys make some amazing wines.
DeLille is a great story in and of itself. My husband, Greg, and his father started DeLille almost 29 years ago, and on some original property that the Lill family still owns out in Woodinville. It's a 10-acre property, and it started with just a vision of, we've got to do something with the property. My in-laws had purchased it some 35 years ago, and it was just a really old rundown farm. And they started cleaning it up and making the property nicer and creating these European gardens that represented to them where they had grown up in Europe. And one point, my father-in-law said, we really need to have some revenue on this property. We're putting a lot of money into beautifying it, and what can we do? And they have traced wine in the family history back to the 1200s. So it just seemed to be a good place to go. And the Lill family definitely all enjoys wine. And at the time when it was started in 92, it was the fourth winery in Woodinville. So there was Chateau Michel, Columbia, and another one called French Creek, which is no longer around. But Woodinville now today has over 130 wineries in the area. And it's just so fun to be out in this area and to see it have blossomed so much in that in the whole wine industry, which is a really important industry to the state of Washington. So.
It is. It's a huge industry. And the chateau that you're talking about, that is such a beautiful property. We've been there for events over the years, and there's just something magical about it.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's where the property started. And then we moved it a couple of years ago. The winery was really outgrowing the property. And so it was, the winery itself was moved to part of what was the old Red Hook facility.
Right.
And so we've got a beautiful new tasting room there. And if people haven't been, I encourage you to make a reservation and go do a tasting. We've got, COVID regulations, but it's really a fun experience to try the wines. And then on the original property of DeLille, we have now rebranded it as Chateau Lill. And it's been an event space that we've done events almost at inception of DeLille cellars, really by default in a way. People would ask Greg, hey, do you mind if I do a wedding or maybe have a family picnic or something? And just organically, we developed this event business that in non-COVID times, we're doing about 80 weddings a year. And then
oh my gosh.
a number of corporate events, which is really great that we are able to share the space with other people because it really is a lovely property. And during all this time when we're stay at home, it's just, that's one of the things that I wish were different, that we could share the property with more people because it's just really a beautiful space. But I'm fortunate that I've been able to go and wander around the property and get a lot of little tidbits of nature. And one of the things that we've also done when we rebranded the property and moved the winery to another place. So they're two very separate businesses now. And we created some new wines that are under our Lill Family Wines brands. And so even though events are not really happening right now, we've been developing wines. So it'll be fun to talk to you about those too.
Oh, very cool. So you have specific wines then that basically you just serve at the chateau for various events?
Yeah, we have wines that we created for the events, but we also sell them to friends and family and restaurants as well. But we have so we have our Lill family of brands, and under that we have a higher end Chardonnay called Cashmere, which is a brand that Greg and I have been doing since about 2005, just separately.
Okay.
It's a brand that back when we started it, I had said to Greg, how come nobody in Washington is making a big full-bodied Chardonnay style similar to some of the ones in California that I like? And he said, you know what? We can do it. Let's try it. And so we were able to source some of the best Chardonnay fruit in Washington. It's from a vineyard, Cold Creek, and specific Block 7, which is when you get down to the nitty gritty, that it matters with the soils and where the grapes are grown, and the terroir is so important. But that was important to me to have really high quality fruit. And then we made that wine. So we've been making that a long time. And then we also have another, a little bit more affordable Chardonnay that's called Lill Sister. So we are doing a play off of our Lill family name. We have a red blend that's called Lill Brother.
Okay, I like it.
And then we just are releasing this week a brand new rosé. First time we've had rosé, and it's called Lill Bebe Rosé. And it's really, that's been a really fun project. And the Lill Sister and the rosé are collaborations with Chris Gorman, who many people are familiar with, Gorman Winery, and he does an amazing job. So I was really thrilled when we had the opportunity to work with him on those two wines. It's been fun.
I love it. Very cool. Yeah, wine is so fascinating to me because it's for sure art, but there's a whole lot of science behind it too. And it's really incredible to see how that all comes together.
It really is. There's so many facets to wine. And most people see they have a glass of wine and they're swirling it around, and it's very sexy, and it can be romantic, it can be so many great memories, it can just have so many things. But there's a whole agricultural piece that goes into creating that. And so the steps of being a farmer and growing the grapes and developing them, and then the winemaker whose craft is to really take the fruit and create his or her vision of the wine that they have in mind.
Yeah.
And there's the whole sales and marketing aspect to the business. There's a hospitality component to it. There's so many facets to the wine industry, which makes it really, really fun that if people want to get into it. And I've consulted and are mentored with many young people interested in the wine industry. And just when you talk about all the different parts to the industry, it just allows people with a lot of different talents and interests to be involved in it.
Yeah,
so.
Which is very cute. I hear your puppy.
You hear him? He's got a little sweet toy. And like I said, somewhere along the way, my puppy would make a little appearance.
There you go. We always love puppy cameos or, photo bombs, all of that stuff.
Maybe before the end of the session, he'll jump into the camera.
There you go. But you were talking about, the hospitality and the mentoring that you've done. That's, something that you at DeLille do a marvelous job of. Is you're in it, you're in the community, you're part of the story and the fabric of our community on so many levels, not just with your tasting rooms and being able to buy the wines, but the different organizations that you're involved with. And you have your own scholarship program that you've developed.
Yeah, thanks. So, something that was always important to my husband, Greg, and I were to be really involved in the community. And over time, we got involved in so many different charities. Again, wine being a common denominator in that a lot of organizations host auctions, fundraising auctions to raise money for their cause. And wine, alcohol, spirits, but generally wine, because our area is so heavy with wine. Right. The wine is an item that really brings in the dollars. And so it's something that was a really great win-win, so that, we're helping out the charity, but we are also getting exposure for the brand. So there's a way to kind of combine that together so that everybody feels good about it. And so over the years, we've been involved in a lot of different organizations, some more, we put more energy and effort into some, like the auction of Washington wines is so important to the industry, raises money for Seattle Children's Hospital and also for some of the grape growers and wine industry folks. Sure. I've been on the board of the auction for a lot of years. And so I done that one. And then, sorry, the squeaking is going on.
I love it. I think
gotta stop.
You can always blame it on me. Benny, would you just stop it right now? Yeah, Benny, I know you're not talking.
Control a little puppy.
Benny likes
my husband who's supposed to be watching the puppy too.
I like chew toys. Yeah.
But the charity aspect is just something that I've really, really enjoyed over the years. And we're actually gearing up. We got the Woodland Park Zoo Jungle Party this Friday night, and we have some donations to that. And it's, I being that I sit on the board and have either chaired, co-chaired, or been on boards of many charities in town, I've been pretty close to learning and being involved in how a number of these fundraisers are pivoting to change the way that they raise their money, because they really need it. The funds are so important, yet we're all in this restricted mode. And so to see the creativity and how they're pivoting to doing online and virtual and engaging the community in different ways has been really kind of a fun thing. So it keeps people involved in the charities, but also, for the wine industry, keeps us really involved in the charities as well.
Yeah, that's great. It's fun to see how everybody's pivoting in different ways right now. And
I think the thing that'll be interesting is to see of the things that pivot, auctions, business, personal ways we go about things, but what are some of those things that are going to really stick, and that maybe people will not 100% go back to how they did things before, but it's going to be a hybrid of what we knew and what we know now and what may be possible in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fascinated to see how it all turns out. I'd love to hear more about the scholarship that you guys do personally.
Yeah, so I had an idea years ago that through being involved in the different charities and seeing the need out there, and also really realizing how a lot of these organizations were asking wineries for donations, daily. We would say we get, multiple requests in a day, and
I would
you
think
can't,
so.
you can't give away all your product because you're trying to run a business too. But I had the idea of, why not create a wine very specifically to to have a cause behind it, but
Mhm.
also have the ability to donate it to the charities. And so, separate from DeLille, on my own, I did a project that was called O Wines, and
Mhm.
the O stands for the word opportunity. And the wine, the opportunity was that the proceeds from the wine fund educational scholarships for young women.
Mhm.
So I created that brand and I created the brand in 2007, started the scholarships in 2008, and then in 2012, sold the brand to Chateau Saint Michel,
Uh-huh.
which was really exciting. And they kept me on to continue helping with some consulting for them, but also um, managing this whole scholarship program.
Oh, sure.
And so I essentially still am responsible for the scholarship program, and I'm in charge of the scholarship program. It wasn't part of what they bought, but we kind of kept the two entities
Mhm.
together so that the wine proceeds were funding the scholarships. So I've gone on to take that, and we give a portion of the sales of our Lill family wines towards the scholarship. And we also host a fundraising luncheon every year to be able to fund the educational scholarships. So to date, I'm proud to say that there have been 74 young women who have all gone to college, 4 years of college, as a result of the Opportunity for Success scholarship program. And all of the young women have been first in their family to go to college, which was not any of the initial criteria, but
Uh-huh.
it's how it's worked out. And I wish I would have been that brilliant to think of it in the beginning, but glad that it is that way, because it's so exciting and rewarding to me to be able to meet these young women
Mhm.
and learn their story and know that by them going to college, it's making generational changes. It's
Yeah.
opening new doors for future generations to have higher education. The young women have been so driven and want so badly to create more for themselves and a different and better lifestyle for them and their families.
Sure.
It's it's so exciting, and I get pretty jazzed up about it, and I always think that the young women are always so grateful to have the opportunity to have a scholarship, but it providing that opportunity to them gives me as much. I'm so grateful for the ability to do that. It's like I get almost more out of it, I think, sometimes than they do, just because it's just a really rewarding program.
Oh, that's such a cool thing that you do that. That's amazing. If somebody wanted to find out more about the scholarship program, where do they go to find out about that?
So they can message me. Actually, we're in a little bit of a hiatus right now with COVID going on, with transitioning some things. But I do. I partner with the College Success Foundation
Cool.
in Issaquah, and someone could contact them as well and ask about the Opportunity for Success program and reference me, and they can make a connection between us,
Mhm.
or people can contact me through social media. Um, so yeah, we've got right now we have a fun fundraiser coming up in October, which
Okay.
we are fingers crossed that it will still continue to go forward. If not, we'll bump it into the new year. But it's been a great program, and I'm fortunate for the luncheon. Done the luncheon for, I believe, 7 years. And
Mhm.
what we're planning to do in October is actually more of an evening event. But I've been fortunate to have Patty Payne, who's a
Yeah.
known, respected columnist, journalist, and uh,
Mhm.
contributor to the Puget Sound Business Journal. She's our MC each year,
Yeah.
and it's fun. We have usually one or two of the young scholarship recipients speak. And it's always been really heartwarming, and people, my friends and my big support group that I have with that have always really enjoyed that event. But it feels good to be able to help young people, especially young people that are really driven. And then I have a passion for helping women, which I think the world in, recent years has seen that, women are starting to kind of find their own place and their own pace. And it's fun to be a part of. And I just am someone that I was born to help people. And so I just love it. It makes me, it's just a really cool thing.
I love it. That's such a cool thing. So if people want to contribute to that at all, how do they make donations?
Again, they can contact the College Success Foundation,
Perfect.
And reference the Opportunity for Success Scholarship Program.
Okay, perfect. We'll have links to that on our website after the show as well, which is NicoleMangina.com/podcast. If you were just joining us today, we are so fortunate to have Stacy Lill with DeLille Cellars and DeLille Family Wines. Like you said, I always think of it as DeLille Cellars, but you've got so much more going on than just that. And we're talking about.
I mean, DeLille was really the impetus of a lot of things when my husband Greg and his dad started it back in 1992. But it's really grown into a lot of different legs, and it's fostered a number of different things that are just our own individual. We brought some investors into DeLille about 5 years ago. So Greg and I are not involved in that day to day. We're still very involved in owning the business, but it's been great because it's allowed us to have the opportunity to expand some of these other areas that we've been talking about with our Lill family wines, with our rebranding of Chateau Lill, with me and focus on my scholarship program too. And there's still, even with COVID kind of keeping people down a little bit, it feels like there's not enough hours in the day oftentimes, but it's fun. We have a lot of projects and fun things going on, and a lot to be grateful for, even though like I mentioned, our event business is completely shut down right now. So that's not it's not great, but it's when life hands you lemons, lemonade is right around the corner.
Figure out a pivot, and we'll all be back there for sure. That is such a magical spot at the Chateau that I know people will be back there for sure. And then you've got your new tasting room in the old Red Hook facility, and one of my girlfriends was there last week. She said it was great.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, it's great. And I know, they're working on Sparkman Cellars is right next door. They're still working on their build out, and hopefully they'll be open soon. And I know Teatro Zinzani, which is right there, is they're building a new tent space. And I mean, probably for them, COVID couldn't have happened at a better time, because it did, I guess, shut down the construction a little bit, but it was when they weren't doing shows. And so I believe they've been able to pick up with the construction. And so it's just, there's, like I mentioned earlier, there's, about 130 wineries in Woodinville area, and there's so much going on in our area, kind of the Hollywood area, and then the warehouse districts. And it's just, it's a fun place to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of good energy out there. We were out there on Sunday, just kind of walking around, and stopped into Purple and had something to eat, and people were out. It's great. I think same with your winery. I think most of them, to do the tasting, you do need to make a reservation right now. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. DeLille and a number of others are reservation only. I do know that in the roundabout by Purple, where you were over the weekend, Gorman Patterson, it's a first come, first serve to their outdoor tables.
Sure.
And some of the outdoor spaces are that way, but a lot of its reservations are more the way that the majority of them are going right now.
Right. Which is nice. We were out wine tasting a weekend or two ago, and the reservations are kind of nice, because then not kind of, it's really nice. You show up, you just know your space is there. And, sometimes it gets really busy on the weekends, especially.
Absolutely. And
chaotic. So,
But didn't you find that it was really nice to actually just kind of see people out and see people's faces?
yes.
And it just felt, we went a couple weekends ago and stopped into the Gorman Patterson space and just
Sure.
had a glass of wine. And a lot of it was actually bringing my puppy so he could get socialized to being in a setting with people. Thankfully, he did good, but it was just really nice to see. And most people were, coming in with their masks on. And then when you sit down at the table, you can take your mask off,
Right.
eat and drink. And then, but it was nice to see that the majority of people were abiding by what was expected and being respectful of people around them. And just, I mean, it's nice to see some activity again, for sure.
It is. And yes, it was. I thought the same thing. It was really nice to see the activity. I think everybody's so happy to be out and about in some form or fashion. We're all fine with, great, let's make a reservation. Fine, I need to wear a mask and this, if that's what it takes, that's totally fine.
Absolutely. Yep. That's 100%. Just whatever we need to do. But it's just, I think that's one of the key things that people miss so much right now is just having more social interaction or being around people, because you want the initial reaction, you want to hug somebody or shake their hand. And it's like, okay, we're learning we can't do that. But so at least just seeing people, even if they have a mask on, it's nice.
Yeah, it's lovely. And I think everybody's done such a great job of pivoting out there. Is your Kirkland tasting, because you have a Kirkland tasting room as well, is that open too, or
not yet? So Maison DeLille, which is a partnership with Real Logic Sotheby's Real Estate down there, is not open at this point, but hopefully it will get so soon. Some of these restaurants and tasting rooms are still having to, if you have to abide by the 6-foot placement.
Yeah, that one's pretty small.
Some smaller places, it just economically doesn't make sense to open up. So I hope we'll be back, soon. And let's hope that people kind of do what they need to so that we can get over the next, hump and move to the next phase and just kind of keep going in a positive direction.
Exactly. And you're in stores. I know we shop at the Metropolitan Market. It's close to our house. There, you can get DeLille there. You could do your own tasting at home. If it doesn't work, you're not
you can buy
going
DeLille in a number of places. Our DeLille Cellars wines, the Lill family wines brands are through our Chateau Lill. You can contact us through chateaulill.com, or anyone is welcome to private message me, contact me through Facebook, Instagram, and I always love to hear from people and love when people like our wines. Yeah,
and I'm sure it's fun. I'm sure people have told you all kinds of great stories about different things that happened while they were drinking DeLille wines. And
well, it goes back to what I started with, is the story of what's your favorite wines. And it's just, people have stories about the wines that they're drinking, and it brings people together. And it's just such a good feel good that, yes, we love hearing stories like that. We love hearing people say, oh, I got married at your place. And it just makes it really fun to connect with people over wine and through wine.
Yeah, you're part of people's lives in, lots of really cool and interesting ways.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great. So thank you so much for being on the show today. We've had Stacy Lill with DeLille Cellars, Lill Family Wines. You've got all kinds of things going on.
Chateau Lill, and
Chateau Lill,
my production assistant just handed me the bottle of the Lill Bebe Rosé.
I'm so
pretty. Our cute little label there.
Okay. And you have to get that through the Chateau, correct?
Yep, through Chateau Lill.
All right.
So that's been fun. It's just, and you guys are some of the first to hear about it. We're just releasing it this week.
Yay, so, you heard it first, maybe second. But
so here's one. Come here, little guy.
Oh yeah.
Make a little appearance with Pupper.
There you go. And Charlie makes a cameo.
Yeah, Charlie. He's my little love during all this stuff, so I'm happy to have him. He likes a little wine too.
Oh, that's good. I think that's perfect. Well, thank you for joining us today, Stacy. We've had such a good time chatting with you. Thanks as well.
Okay.
Yep.
I've had a great time too. And it's nice to kind of feel like back in the groove of things. So thank you for having me.
Sure. Absolutely. Take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Bye.
All right. All clear, lady.